Hi guys, I'm Kiri, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about a 1972 Lancia Fulvia 1600 HF Lusso. Once Lancia was a great name. Founded in 1906 in Turin, Italy by Vincenzo Lancia and Claudio Fogolin. Was a very innovative company from the beginning with some incredible pre-war cars and well-known brand not only in Italy but all over the world. Lancia luxury cars were favorite for many wealthy people. They were very reliable and bulletproof machines. Was the first brand to adopt the monocoque chassis, the first brand to produce a V4 cylinder engine, and the first brand to use independent suspension in production cars. But not only luxury cars. Lancia loved the sport, so the sports cars being part of the Lancia history all the time. The design as well was the important part of the company. Lancia was making some of the most beautiful cars in the world. But in some time, they lost the control, and Fiat bought Lancia in 1969. But this was the right decision because they were losing big amount of money every year. So Fiat took over and heavily invested in the company. This was the new era for Lancia. The new boost with new models developed together with Fiat. But one of the models survived the new ownership change and even still was going strong up to 1976. And this was the model Fulvia. It was first introduced in 1963 at the Geneva Motor Show as a Berliner 4-door version. Then 2 years later in 1965 the Coupe version arrived, like the car in front of us, and then the sports version, maybe the most cool and sporty, but built by Zagato, which by the way is absolutely striking car. As we mentioned earlier, Lancia, as a very innovative company, did something in this car as well, which was radical again. And this was the engine. If you open the bonnet in every Lancia Fulvia car, you're gonna see something a bit strange. The engine is a bit offset, not in line with the central line of the car, but there is something else. Very strange V4 configuration engine, designed by well-known Zaccone Mina. Very narrow angle between 11 and 12 degrees between the cylinders, so something similar to later 1990s Volkswagen Corrado VR6 and of course the Bugatti engines. This very small angle between the cylinders makes the engine very compact, almost you can put in your pocket, but as well allowed a single cylinder head to cover all four not-in-line cylinders, with one cam each for intake and exhaust valves. This was absolutely crazy, to see something like this in mass production car. Different displacements being used for the Fulvia cars, from 1.1 to 1.6 liters. Of course 1.1 for the cheapest 4-door Berliner version with 57 horsepower but later 70 horsepower. The 1.2 liter HF model was tuned to 87 horsepower. The best engine was of course the bigger one, the 1.6 liter 1584cc for the Coupe version Lancia Fulvia 1600 HF, like the car in front of us. Very special car. But now is the time to mention what actually Fulvia mean. This was a Roman road leading to Turin, and was very important Roman road dated back to 2000 years ago. So Fulvia didn't disappoint it at all. It's a very early front-wheel drive car, front longitudinally mounted engine, and everything under the bonnet, all the drivetrain is completely compact and tidy. Front independent suspension, leaf springs on the back, Dunlop disc brakes or later grilling in all four corners. Now we're going to give our attention to the version Coupe, especially HF version, which acronym HF mean high fidelity, applied only to sports and racing variants Lancia cars since 1960s, so from the model Fulvia, which by the way was a great rally car until the purposely built Stratus arrived in 1972-1973. And if you see a Lancia car with HF badges, that means this is very serious car, very exclusive with the famous elephant. So HF badge we can see on the competition Coupe versions Fulvia like the 1.2 Coupe HF we mentioned with 87 horsepower, or Fulvia Rally 1.3 HF with 100 horsepower, but the most wanted was the 1.6 liter variants, Rally 1.6 HF, or later the car in front of us, Lancia Fulvia Coupe 1600 HF. This engine was a race variant, so always is a bit noisy, very responsive with Solex 42 carburetor and producing 115 horsepower. The early Rally 1.6 HF was a 132 horsepower with two Solex carburetors or Weber 45. In 1970 it came Lusso, up to the end of the production in 1976. Was more luxury, if we can say that. Very cool two-door coupe Fulvia. Lancia Fulvia 1600 HF was the most powerful coupe of the touring house in the HF version. As we said, the HF was the racing version because Lancia Fulvia was a great 60s and 70s rally car. The most notable moment is winning the 1972 most famous Rally Monte Carlo with driver Sandro Munari. So the fact that this was a rally winning car, it's enough to say how great this little Italian car is. But the Fulvia success was continued by the Stratos, then Lancia Rally 037, then Lancia Delta S4, and on the end maybe the greatest of all rally cars, Lancia Delta Integrale. The Fulvia was the original, the one to put the foundation for the next generations. The real rally cars were a bit more powerful, 165 horsepower, extracted from the original 1.6 liter engine, with weight just over 800 kilograms, was one of the best rally car back on the day. But there is another story. The Fulvia Coupe made its racing debut in the 1965 Tour du Corse. From the beginning was a very elegant car, very beautiful and distinctive. So many women liked the car. So one of the very first victories of the original rally car, Fulvia Coupe 1.3 HF, was achieved by all-female crew, and this was at the 1968 Italian Sestriere Rally. Nowadays, Sestriere is more known as the famous ski resort. So in 1968, on this rally, the winning crew was Pat Moss and Elizabeth Nystrom. By the way, Pat Moss is a kid sister of the British racing icon Sir Stirling Moss. She won the rally ahead of another three Lancia Fulvia HF cars, driven by professional racing drivers. But this wasn't a coincidence, because just few weeks early, the same Pat Moss had finished second in the very famous Rally Sanremo, in front of other famous at the time rally car Renault Alpine. So Lancia Fulvia was a great rally car, with victories in Euba Rally, Rally Spain, Rally Sanremo, in the RAC Rally in England, but the most notable, as we said, was the 1972 Rally Monte Carlo. This of course reflects on the market. Lancia was selling much more than before Fulvias, which car, let's say again, was very distinctive in many ways, but very beautiful again. Lancia was a Formula 1 car in 1950s, but then they moved into the rally, and wasn't mistake. Was the best rally car in Italy and one of the best in the world. Won every year from 1965 till 1973 the Italian Rally Championship, except 1970. But the top pick was 1972, the same year they won the Monte Carlo Rally. In that year, Lancia Fulvia won the Rally Championship for manufacturers. Then, in 1974, Lancia Fulvia retired from the rally in favor of the very new purposely built to win rally car Lancia Stratos. So all this experience from the rally sport was transferred to the road legal cars. Cars for customers to enjoy every minute. No matter the engine size, 1.2, 1.3 or 1.6 liter. All they are beauty and joy to drive. All are powerful and they have specific noise because of the very distinctive V4 engine. Every minute spent with Lancia Fulvia is amazing and just unforgettable. Even in 1972, A special model was introduced commemorating Lancia's 1972 Monte Carlo victory, and this was the model Lancia Fulvia Coupe 1.3S Monte Carlo. Very sporty car in any aspect, but as we said before, the most cool and powerful and most wanted was the 1600 HF, the car in front of us. Normally with 115 horsepower, just over 800 kilograms sport coupe, very fast acceleration, not that big number maximum speed because this was not the factor. The important thing was to feel the car on the road, especially the curvy roads and different altitudes. To feel the suspension, the acceleration, and something very important, the noise from the engine, which was dream for many drivers. So the car in front of us is, as we said, 1972 Lancia Fulvia HF 1600 Lusso. And this car is from 1972, mean nowadays is 51 years old. But the car was fully restored up to concours condition. As you can see, outside, inside, the car is just amazing, very beautifully restored car, and there is nothing to say about this car. Every nut and bolt, everything was absolutely top quality restored. But to restore up to this level, car like this is not going to be very cheap. Depending from the condition before, the restoration could be 40, 50,000 euro or British pounds, maybe 60, 70 or 80,000 even if it's in very bad condition. But doesn't matter the number, if you love this Lancia Fulvia, you have to spend the money to restore and to have the car, how the car actually left the factory. But these Lusso versions, they're little bit luxury, so inside they're a bit more luxury, let's say, than the standard Lancia Fulvia cars. They have some options, a radio or anything. But anyway, without options or with options, this is not the important thing. The important thing is to have these two letters HF, which mean high fidelity. This is something we explained early. Sports model Lancia, like BMW M cars or AMG Mercedes cars. So Lancia HF mean this is sports car, racing car, top level car. So guys, I hope you liked the video about this Lancia Fulvia 1600 HF Lusso. If you like, please subscribe my channel and see you next time guys. Bye!